Hi, this is Ruth McLeod, and this is Stories from the ER. And this is a story that is actually very sad, but very poignant. There was a woman who had a child who had a seizure disorder, and she put him in the bathtub and left the room. And when she came back, he had experienced a seizure and was unconscious and floating downward in the water. And so she yanks him out of the tub and yells for help and starts CPR. The problem is because this baby was in, well, he was 7, but the baby was in warm water. And there is a saying in trauma, and that is that you can you cannot die until you're warm and dead. We cannot pronounce you unless you're of normal temperature. That's why these kids, you hear of these kids who go into these ice lakes and they pull them up 4 hours later and they can get them back because the cells don't die. But in warm water, you do still have cellular death after like 3 minutes, and you can't get that back. So we worked on this kid and worked on this kid, but it was very evident that he was completely brain dead. And that the only thing that was keeping him going was the fact that he had a 7-year-old heart and that we were breathing for him. Well, this was a woman from Africa, and she spoke a very different dialect of African, and we had to call up AT&T and get an operator who spoke that and do this three-way conversation where I would tell him something, he would tell her on the phone, she would react and go back and forth, and it was a very timely process. And the sad part is that I had to tell this woman through this interpreter that did not see on the phone that her child was brain dead and that we would be doing checks on his brain, but that the child was in grave condition and it was very little hope that he would live. When she got this news, she went into the room and did this scream that it doesn't matter if you're from Africa, Cuba, Mexico. It doesn't matter. This is a universal scream from mothers who lose children. And there is no forgetting it when you hear it. And she started to pound her head on the cement floor so hard that she started to bleed. And I had to put my hand underneath her head. And she would just pound, 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 pound. And you could not get her to stop. Until finally she just wore out so much that we actually brought a gurney into the room. We put her right next to the baby so that she could hold his hand because she was, had a concussion herself at this point and just overwhelmed from grief. The women in the ER, the other moms in the ER that were 95% Hispanic and above, they understood that scream even though they knew that this woman wasn't Spanish. And they started a memorial of sorts and was leaving things outside of the room. And each woman would go through and cross themselves and say a little prayer. Someone would leave a rosary, someone would leave a flower, someone would leave like a Catholic candle that had a saint on it. And even though the woman had a different religion and didn't even understand much of what these meanings were, what she understood was that these were moms, and they were showing their love to her as much as they could. And I don't know what happened to that woman. I think about her a lot. And there's that scream. You never forget it. All right, Ruth McLeod, Tumblr.com for more stories. Tell your friends about this. And thanks very much. See you next time.